The soft tissue structures of the posterior hip can create back pain, hip pain, or symptoms down the back of the leg. When we do tissue mobility work, we want to work on our glutes, the big muscle of our butt, but there's also some deeper structures that we want to get involved. As we get these tissues to mobilize better, this will help us get into a better, deeper squat position. It'll help us have a more comfortable deadlift motion. It'll also give us prolonged tolerance to static positions like sitting for long periods of time. When we start to mobilize that, the easiest way to start is with a foam roller. So I'm going to take the foam roller, and I'm just going to sit right on top of it. And I'm going to have my affected leg straight and my opposite leg bent. And I'm just going to roll forward and back over those tissue structures of the posterior hip. Now I can bias this a little bit. If I rotate my foot out, that's going to get a little more of the lateral part of the hip. And if I rotate my foot in, it's going to get a little more part of the medial side of the hip. I can challenge this a little bit more by taking this ankle and crossing it over my opposite knee. Now I have my hip into an externally rotated position. I can shift my weight slightly to find the area of tension that I need to work on, and again, work forward and back with it. I can give it a little bit of an overpressure with my opposite hand to get a bigger externally rotated position. Or I can mobilize this hip socket with rotation by lifting that knee and lowering it back and forth as I continue to maintain pressure over the foam roller. If I want to take that to a deeper structure and be a little more specific, I'm going to work with the ball. So I'm going to start in the same position, put that ball right underneath my glute muscle, my affected leg straight, my opposite leg bent for support, and I can roll forward and back with it. Again, I can bias this by rotating my foot out or in. I can take it up to a little more intensity by crossing my ankle over my opposite knee. Now I can prop myself up on my arm. I can roll forward and back on that. I can give myself a little bit of pressure into a bigger externally rotated position. Or I can mobilize that knee up and down. Another way that I can do this, keeping that ball in that same position, is I'm actually just going to roll forward over it. So it's slightly behind the midline of my body now. I'm going to put my opposite leg in front, and I'm going to rotate these toes towards the ceiling of my affected leg. And as I lift this leg up and down with that ball keeping some pressure on my glute muscle, it's giving me a nice mobilization. The other area that often gets neglected when we do this is the higher part of our glute muscle. Our glute muscle comes from the fold of our butt, but it actually comes up to the top of our hip, so a lot of people neglect that top part of the hip. So what we want to do for that is we're going to put our feet up on a box or on a chair, and I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it up a little bit higher than it was, and then from here I can roll forward and back with it, I can roll side to side with it, or I might find that I want to drop that leg over the edge, and maybe a little bit of marching and straightening the leg might be good for me. Or I might be able to slide my leg out and in. And again, with all these, if I rotate my leg towards the outside or towards the inside, that's going to bias it slightly different. So find the spot that works for you. Once I get all that tissue mobility working, now I want to create some stretching for the muscle part. So a good way to start that stretch would be laying on your back with the ankle across that opposite knee again. And then I'm just going to reach through and grab my unaffected leg, and as I pull that knee toward my chest, I'm going to feel it stretch into that posterior part of this hip. When I do this, I don't want to be lifting my butt up off the floor because that starts to make my back moving. What I want to do is keep my back flat and pull that forward. Now, if I had a little trouble reaching with my arms, I could use a belt or a strap or a towel just to put around here, just to give me a little more length that I can pull that forward. The other great way to do this exercise is if you're in a sitting position. So think if you're out at a store or you're somewhere where you just can't lay down on the ground. If we get sitting down and we do the same exact position, we're just going to cross that ankle over that knee. And then from this, I'm just going to bow forward. And I say bow forward because if I bend at my trunk and I slump forward, this is my back that's stretching. What I want to do is keep my back straight, and as I lean forward, I feel that stretch into this posterior part of the hip. So remember, when we do the tissue work, whether it's with the foam roller or with the ball, we're going to do at least 2 minutes to get some of those areas resolved. You might not get them all resolved in one try, so you have to work on this a little bit every day. And then once we get into the stretching exercises for that posterior hip, those are a separate mobility activity, and we want to do those for 2 minutes or longer also. So the first part is to get the soft tissue structures to mobilize, and the second part is to get the muscle to lengthen. Try those out and see if you have better tolerance to your deadlift position, get into your squat a little bit easier, but also tolerate prolonged sitting with more comfort.